Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics round review on Sunday night, as always. Post round 19. A pretty interesting weekend of footy. Some big scores, some low scores, and everything in between, as fantasy always does deliver. But I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. And joining me is just a couple of us tonight. So it's one of my fellow co-hosts in AFL Fantasy Fanatics, Jordy DeSena. Jordy, mate, how are you? How was your weekend?
Good, mate. Not too bad. A few gigs and stuff. Watch a bit of footy as well. So, it was pretty good. Was at the Crows game today. So, doing a gig for the Crows. So, it was good.
Yeah, mate, good win for the Crows. But I could be talking about them for a bit, but we'll stick it to fantasy. So, mate, we'll go and recap our weeks as we always start off the review shows with. So, Jordan, we'll go to you first, mate. What did you score this week? What was your round rank, and where is your overall rank sitting at now?
Yep. So I scored 2-2-2-3. The rounds rank was 8,435, and my overall rank is 325. So I went back about 31 spots, I think. Yeah, 31 spots. So just below below par, I think. A few decisions there. Some other guys. I feel like I'm in the 70s club. There's just so many 70s from my players, Bales. I'm sure we'll talk about them, but everyone basically got 70. So slid back, but hopefully we can attack. I think I'm aiming for top 300 now. That's my goal.
Yeah, no, it was a weekend like that. I'm just laughing at Hawker saying in the chat, for anyone watching along, said Jordy hiding in the dark. I don't know if he's got a car light or anything like that, or if are you driving at the moment?
I am, yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yes.
That's what happens late on a Sunday night when you're out for dinner and I ask you, can you jump on the pod, mate? Because none of the other co-hosts are free tonight. So, no, it's good. We've got a couple of people on. My score for the round just got you 22.55. That was a round rank of 5,095 and put me up 427 spots inside the top 4,000, which is nice at 3,761. So we're making our charge late in the season, which is nice. But yeah, certainly a couple of things. I certainly didn't think I was having a very good weekend of fantasy. I think probably a lot of us felt like that. There was a lot, as you said, a lot of 70s, a lot of 80s, and a couple of poor scores, which we'll get into in our plus and minus 3, which we will go to now. So, Jordy, your plus and minus 3 for the round.
Jeez, it's really hard to split two guys today that went absolutely nuts. So we got Nasiah Wanganeen-Malera with a 151 and Dacos 162 after being sore during the week. Like, that is very hard to split those two. That's ridiculous.
Is that a career high score? I reckon that might be his career high. I don't reckon he's gone 160 before.
No, I don't think so either. I was not expecting that. We were not even looking. Yeah, and we were thinking, like captaincy, all of that stuff. And to go 160, we'll chat about it, but I think there was a slight role change there. So I'm just going to give them both a +3. Can I do that?
Yeah, so who are you giving it to? Dacos and who?
And Wanganeen-Malera.
No, because I'll be giving one of those guys. So if you give it to Dacos.
I'll go Dacos, yeah.
Yeah, and then your -3?
-3 has to go to interesting. I brought in Mason Wood this week. Not great. Got 58.
Only 3 points less than McRae, I guess. So you saved money there. That's all.
I did, yeah. But now I've got issues. So yeah, it was him or Jack Ross, and I went Mason Wood. Jack Ross would have been nice. So yeah, he'll get the -3.
Yep, very frustrating. My +3, we're going to give it to the other guy you mentioned. And there's a big reason I'm going to give it to Nasiah Wanganeen-Malera, right? So at this point of the year, if there's a couple of leagues I'm in sort of running for, that's what I'm caring about. And shout out to, so if anyone, obviously a lot of you got, I'm sure everyone here listens to the Hat Chat podcast, right? But we know that the Hat Chat leagues have got the seeded leagues. They've got the 10 leagues. And the top 4 get promoted, bottom 4 get relegated. I obviously have had a tough year when it comes to the first half of the year, which is when a lot of these matchups were going. made a better run through the buys. I was bottom about 4 weeks ago. Won a couple of games right in the relegation zone. And I had Nasai Wanganeen-Miller as a unique. And I needed Nasai Wanganeen-Miller, Bailey Smith, and Ryan Marshall to outscore Brian Myers and Jack McRae by about 160-odd points. And Nasai Wanganeen-Miller single-handedly got me the win by 10 points. And I'm now level, like this league is incredibly close. Like from 10th through to 14th, we're all 6 and 8. And there's a team that's 6 wins and a draw, another team that's 5 and 9. It is incredibly tight to see who's going to be demoted to League 7 or stay in League 6 next year. And Nasai Wanganeen-Miller keeping me in that is why I'm giving him the +3. And just the fact that he is an absolute gun of a football player. He is now the second highest averaging player, gone past Max Gawn just by 4 points, and over, he's already in front of Jordan Dawson, but he is having an incredible season and has probably added a lot of money onto his contract. So, he is been very, very good. Apparently, Joy says he's lost his mic, so hopefully he'll be able to get that sorted. But my -3, oh, geez, I've got to give it to a trade-in that I brought in. So one part of my trade, Brody Grundy, was great. The other part, Luke Parker, 48. What the hell was that? 48 points. I understand he got unlucky. He missed a few tackles. His teammates missed him for a few +6s. But it was incredibly frustrating watching Luke Parker in a good role score 48 against his former side at the SCGL. I thought he was going to be better than that. Could have gone Dan Curtin, who I was pretty keen on, for 100k less. Could have gone for pretty much almost anyone else except for a few and got a better score as that forward. So really, really disappointing that I got that poor score from Luke Parker. So, Jordy, we picked the 2 forwards and we made the wrong call for both in both price ranges. You could have picked 3 or 4 guys around your price range that went better. I could have picked 3 or 4 guys around my price range that went better as well. So really, really disappointing.
Yeah, So I just had to quickly jump out there, so I missed a bit of the audio. But yeah, Parker for you, 48. Like, I know you're looking at a few guys, but yeah. And even though revenge, he still had CBAs and he still had, I just thought a revenge game, as you were saying, with tackles and stuff, he would have been better. But yeah, what can you do?
Exactly. What can you do? Hopefully he turns it around because he's obviously we're going to be holding him for another week and maybe he goes the week after. A shout out to Jesse from the Contest Fantasy Footy Show. Obviously, I was on their pod on the Friday and he made the appearance, was it a week and a bit ago, saying Naz has elevated himself to auto captain, vice captain status every week, which I do agree with. But this week, I'm not going to look too far ahead, but this week he's got Melbourne. I would put money on the fact I think Ed Langdon will go to Nasai Wanganeen-Miller. Pretty decent matchup. Langdon can run all day. So that would be my only worry this week. But yes, moving forward, they've got that great run. He is for sure going to be someone that we're going to be keeping an eye on. Moving to the Content Creators Cup, obviously proudly brought to you by Infinite Wealth. Couple of results from the Fantasy Fanatics this week. So I was up against Jake this week and was able to get another win. So 22.55 to 21.96. And I've now won 4 of my last 5, but it doesn't matter because I was at the bottom anyway. So I'm not at the bottom anymore. Finished in 18th in the regular season. Tough year. Conceded almost the most. Actually, I believe I conceded second most points behind third most, fourth most, something like that. Conceded won the most points in the league, which is disappointing there. Some of the other fantasy notes. So Guesty went down to Fry, who had a very, very good week. Guesty, unfortunately, had a pretty tough week for fantasy. Fry 23.18 to Guesty's 20.46. Jordox, unfortunately, as well, went down to Luke with 21.15 to Jordox's 20.63. And then, unfortunately, Jaiden went down to Louis as well by 14 points, 21.92 to 21.78. So not a very good week for the Fanatics. And unfortunately, that means that Guesty didn't quite crack inside the top 8, but Jaiden was able to keep his spot inside the top 8. So we still have a Fanatic in the top 8 that might be able to take it out there. But you had the top 8. Louis finished on top, 14 wins, 5 losses. Holmesy in second ahead of MJ, both 13 and 6. Lemon got into the top 4 with a win over MJ this week, and he moved to 12 and 7 to 4th. DC was in 5th, 12 and 7, missed out just by points 4. in terms of top 4. Nathan in 6th with 10 and 9, along with Jaiden in 7th, who was 10 and 9. And then Luke, the reigning, defending Content Creators Cup champion, snuck into the 8 with a win over Guesty. And he actually meant that he kept Mitch out of the top 8, who has been on a tear the back part of the year. He won again this week, but unfortunately, he did not quite get past his counterpart, because if Luke had lost, Mitch would have made the top 8. So I'm interested to hear what they chat about on the show tomorrow on the Ball Boys show. But in terms of overall ranking, still 4 coaches inside the top 1,000. Holmesy's up to 25th. So he's going along very, very nicely. Lemon, I think he either went slightly up or slightly down, but he's at 231st. Nathan is 383rd, and Louis is 809th, with DC just outside the top 1,000, and Mitch has also had a really big late season charge there as well. So that is the wrap up the Content Creators Cup. We're interesting to see who takes it out. We'll go through the matchups, I'm sure, on Tuesday and have a look at those. But let's get into the games of footy from the round. So we'll start off on Thursday night. Not an amazing game to watch, but Essendon and GWS, Giants winning by 48 points. And a few of the usual suspects scoring pretty well in this game. So Tom Green, top score with a 110. So low scoring game here in terms of the ceiling scores. Whitfield with a 109. Lockie, Ash, your boy Jordy with a 107. Callahan with a 102. And then Zach Merritt got to a 99. They had a really disappointing second quarter, which is really what kept him from turning up. But 99, you take that in a tough matchup. But Jordan Ridley, Jordy, 91 points. I know DC flagged that on the Wednesday night Hat Chat Live when I was chatting to him, and a few people looked at him. Is there any interest in going like if you've got a dock there and you can go dock down and go someone else up? Is it worth it, or do you think that if you're training out dock, you want to, like for example Doherty or Berman or whoever, you wanted to go up?
Yeah, I'm just having a look now. So 683K. So it is very cheap.
D7? Could he be D7 if you've got cash? Could you go like a McCarthy to Ridley on the bench, or is that not worth it in your eyes?
I don't know if it's worth doing McCarthy if it's on your bench, because you're sort of wasting a trade there for a loop. I don't know. I haven't really looked at it. It's probably not someone. I don't know. With Ridley, he's always having an injury cloud, isn't he? I mean, I probably do need to get creative this week. So, I haven't really looked at it, but potentially it could be something if you do really want to take a big punt and get creative.
I agree as well. If you've still got a rookie, if McCarthy's on your field, I think that if you can maybe go slightly up to Ridley and then do maybe potentially another sideways move on field, I don't mind that if you banked a bit of cash. But I'm probably not sure if it's worth it at this time of the year. But he's cheap. He's someone to look at, and he's taking plenty of kick-ins. So he had, actually no, he only had the one kick-in. Redmond actually had 4. So scratch that. Not having plenty of kick-ins, but just got plenty of the ball around the ground. And then, a few lower scores. Like Toby Green, 85, started like a house on fire. Thought that was going to be an absolute monster, but probably like most of the Giants didn't really kick on with any sort of big first halves at all. Stephen Kineo was one that a few people went to. He scored the 67, which in comparison to a lot of the other options, wasn't actually a disaster. 67, had a decent role as well with some CBAs there as well. Guelphy did go to Lockie Whitfield for a little bit this game, Jordy. And Lockie Whitfield, obviously, still great value. He's obviously 109 was a good score. Looked like could have been, again, a monster, but much like Giants, as I said, didn't really sort of kick on with monster scores. But he comes against Sydney this week, Battle of the Bridge Friday night. I would imagine that a Braden Campbell. James Jordan will go to him there. I'm probably thinking Jordan to Callahan and Campbell to Whitfield. For those that don't have Whitfield yet, he's obviously incredible value. But would you be waiting a week to get this Sydney matchup out the way and then go into the last month where they've actually got obviously a very nice last month? Would you wait one more week?
Oh, that's an interesting question, because we saw last week that a lot of people were waiting this week to get Whitfield and they couldn't because we had forced trades. So it's almost like, you've got the chance, like say you've got a dock there, do you just do it this week because it's an upgrade on your team long term and you don't know what we're going to be forced with? I think depending on on the options, I think if Whitfield presents there and I can upgrade Doc and it's, works for my team, I'm going to launch into it because I'm going to need him. And I wonder, like, they do have Lockie Ash there. Like, do they go to him at all? Is it Whitfield? I don't think Campbell tag on the weekends. I think Jordan did. So
Jordan went to McKercher, but probably because they didn't really feel like they needed to tag. Whereas this is a big game, this one. If Sydney can beat Giants, their finals hopes are still alive. I think Freo winning against Collingwood today probably put a little bit of a dampener on that, because Freo won those teams for around the bottom of the 8 that if they'd lost, they'd be closer. But if they beat Giants this week, they're only they'll be a couple of games away still. They need to win every game from here, but their season's still alive and they probably think they can make it. So I'm thinking that they're going to run tags and it'll be a double tag, I think. So that's my only worry, is that Whitfield's still cheap, not going to get away from you regardless. I'm thinking I'm in a situation where I can get Whitfield this week. I'm probably not going to. That's probably where I'm looking at. Whereas I think you've already got Whitfield.
I've already got Whitfield, yeah.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I think if you can get to a Dunkley or someone else will talk about Jack Steele, or you can afford them, then like obviously these guys are $1 million. Whitfield's 921K. So if he's the best you can do, I think you launch into it. But yeah, I think it depends on how much money you've got.
Yeah, agreed. Moving over to Friday night, good game footy, this one. Brisbane beating the Dogs by 10 points. And Josh Dunkley, who we just mentioned there, 133 points. 3 of his last four have been over 125 points. Is he back? Is Josh Dunkley back? He's got, obviously, Gold Coast this week. Great matchup for him. Obviously, the Q clash there. Would he be someone at about $1 million that you'd be looking at targeting for this run home?
Yeah, I'm really interested in Dunkley. I watched this game. He looks like really good. And I agree with you. They've actually got a tough run, but I think that's good because that means he's going to do the defensive job because
plenty of tackles.
Exactly. So obviously Gold Coast this week. You think he goes to Anderson or a Rao?
I think he goes to Rao. I think that's a good matchup.
And then next week he's got Collingwood. So you think he tries to do something on Dacos. Swan's probably Heaney. Then he's got Freo, which could be a Sarong. And then Hawks. So, will Day probably be back by then, or Newcomb? So I think he's going to match up well against these guys. And obviously, he's getting a lot of tackles. He just looks like, watching him, he just looks better. I don't know whether he had something in the middle of the year that was just before the bye, or did the buys freshened him up?
I remember Vam saying on the Contest Fantasy Footy Show when I listened to them that he played a lot of teams in a row that had low stoppages and were a low stoppage team, whereas he's now coming into a run now where he's playing a lot of high stoppage, like Gold Coast high stoppage team.
Yeah.
The week after he said Collingwood, obviously Collingwood a little bit different, but I still think he can score well. But he's coming to a lot of these high stoppage games. So I think that, and again, as they say, this is big boy month. This is where it gets contested, tough games of footy. And I think that's going to suit a guy like Josh Dunkley. And he's someone that, as you said, is on your shopping list this week, and he's also on my shopping list. So I think he's a really, really good target. Potentially along with the Bailey Dale, who scored 128, looked good, just getting a heap of cheap ball, and was surprising because this is a tough matchup, and it was wet before the game. So I didn't think he was actually going to go as well as he did, but he scored very, very well. Probably just slight flag is the fact that because he went so well against Essendon earlier this year, 154 when he had 49 disposals. I'd be shocked if they didn't put attention to him, and maybe Guelphy does a more of a lockdown hard role. So I don't know if I'd launch into it personally, but you could as well, because then Bedford the week after has been playing more forward, maybe plays defensive forward on Dale. So I probably don't think I'd be going there next couple of weeks, but he does have Essendon, who, if he doesn't get attention, could be a big score. Will Ashcroft at 112. He scored well with 3 goals. And I think he's had a few 110 plus scores in a row. So he's someone obviously going to own in the future as well, but I wouldn't be bringing him in at this stage. Bont had a 105. Bit of a hard watch, Jordy Bont, in this game. I know he scored a 105, which isn't a hard watch, but felt like he went quiet for big parts of this game, but then got 3 tackles in the space of probably 30 seconds, got a few touches, and just boosted his score like that. We know Bont can do that. He's in good form. 4 of his last 5 over the ton, so he is hitting good form.
Just on there was a tweet on Bont about his calf being iced, I think. Hopefully it's okay. There's nothing wrong. They come against Essendon, but Dogs need to win games now. They're Freo winning, they might miss out. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. The guy I wanted to ask you about, though, Matt Kennedy, 104, looked good. Matt Kennedy looked back to form. as someone that I don't have him, he's got a break in at 132, but he's got the Bombers this week, which is a great matchup. And the Dogs have got a good run home. Like, they got Giants the week after, but then they go Melbourne, West Coast, Freo to finish the year. If you don't have Matt Kennedy, he's got a break in at 132 still. Can you jump on this week, get a little bit of a cash loss, and then look to move him off next week? Because I've looked at him potentially bringing him in and then trading out a Daniel or a Parker next week and chucking him forward. That's my thought. So what are your thoughts on Matt Kennedy as a target this week?
Yeah, I really like it. I think he looked way better. Like, I was watching him pretty closely because of that 30 last week. I didn't get to see the game. I was like, what's sort of going on? It must have been a flu game or something because he looked great.
It came out on the Monday post the game.
Okay.
I didn't hear many people talk about it actually, but it came out confirmed that he was sick in that game. That's why he had low game time and had a poor score.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. It's not an injury or anything. Yeah, I would launch into it. Like, I know the break even's high, but we just saw McRae put a 61. Like, we need forward scoring. He's at a good price. He's basically done it all year, just except for that 1 week last week. So I'd be grabbing him if you can to upgrade your forward line. Or, as you said, if you need to do it in the midfield and flick around, I think he's a great option this week.
Yeah, I like it. He's someone, again, I'm also looking at this week. Had 44% CBAs, but he was the fourth guy behind Libba Richards Bont, which is no real surprise there. But they had a pretty tight rotation. It was only had Garcia for a handful, and then I think Fraser had a couple. But besides that, it was pretty much those four guys in the midfield. Dane Zorko, 103. Incredible save, to be honest. He went off, I think, in the first quarter, early second, with a bit of an ankle injury, or it looked like someone stomped on his foot or something accidentally. Then came back on. Then near the end of the second quarter, actually got hit in the head, so had a blood rule, not concussion or anything like that. Just had to go off there, but end up really going really well in the second half. So he's still a good option if you're looking that way, along with Tim English, who turned up as well. So obviously a high-scoring fantasy game. This one here. Levi Ashcroft, for anyone still got him floating around there, he went 87. Lyman with a 78, which would have helped a lot of people probably maybe adjust trades after Friday night, because that 78 was pretty solid and outscored a lot of premium forwards this week, just showing that this forward position is just it's a mess this year, to be honest. Darcy with a 74 as well, which obviously isn't too bad as a forward. There, and that's pretty much it from that game. So we will move over to the Saturday game, starting off with a very, very wet game down in Tassie. I think that roof might be potentially a good thing if with the new stadium. But Hawthorn winning by 38 points over Port Adelaide, and Dylan Moore, Jordy, wow, 143 points, 32 touches, 9 tackles, a couple of goals, looked absolutely fantastic. We know these forwards, though, are essentially like they'll be up one week, down the next. Not only, I think, will Dylan Moore be a good option to start next year because he's going to be priced cheap, but could you jump onto him for the final 5 weeks of the year after this massive game?
Yeah, I mean, if someone's scoring 143, 9 tackles, 32 disposals, playing a half forward role, like
only 4 CBA.
4 CBAs, that definitely gets your attention, doesn't it? So I think we definitely have to look at him. Like, we saw him last year do this sort of role and average 90-ish it was. So he's got the form now, I think, with showing that he's, done this score. Yeah, I mean, and as you said, like, forwards are just, they're so, like, we saw some, as I was saying before, 70s club or under that. It's really tough at the moment. I don't really know where to go. Like, I was looking at going to get McRae this week, and now I'm like, well, I don't know if I should be getting McRae, so maybe I should look at a Dylan Moore. So I think definitely one to look at. Yeah, for sure. Like 143, that's crazy.
Yeah, he was very, very good. Potentially someone that you might be able to look at. Kyle Mann was asked this question earlier, saying, is Sweet an option for those of us who swung Jackson into the rut last week? Because Jordan Sweet, who would have thought he was the pick of the rucks this week? He was cheap. I heard a couple of people sort of float out the idea, and most people said, no, we're not doing that. But 132, I think that was a career high in disposal as well, but 42 hit. It's obviously the game did mean that he got plenty of those, but plenty hit out, sorry. But he's the number one right now. Visitini's out for the remainder of the year, I believe. Is he someone at a cheaper price you could go to? Or if you've got the cash, are you still looking to go up to a Grundy or an English or even a Gawn? Obviously, English and Gawn have now their runs open up. Are you looking at one of those guys instead, or could you go for a Jordan Sweet?
Yeah, I think I'd still be going for the top guys. So I think there was a question before if someone went for a Jackson and moved him into the ruck. maybe that was because you're waiting that 1 week for Max Gawn to come down in price, and now Gawn's going to go on to that, unreal run. So I think I'd stick with that and grab Gawn in. I'm still pretty hot on getting those 3 top rucks, a Grundy, a Gawn, an English. I guess Marshall is probably a hold at the moment, even though he's got a 2 rucks. But yeah, I don't know. I think I would still be I'd still be going for Gawn. I think if you are playing Jackson, I would assume that the owner wouldn't have Gawn, so I'd still be going there.
Yeah, I would agree with that one. We had a few other big scores like Impey, Hardwick, Ward, Warple, and Nash. Good for draft if you've got any of those guys there as well, along with like Farrell. Even Bergman only had 12 touches, but 14 tackles for a 93. I think obviously with Port's injuries, his roles is going to be thrown around everywhere. But again, he's another one to put on your list for next year. I think with all those guys in defence for Port back, potentially as well, maybe Nasai is also on the team. I think that Bergman could be someone in the midfield that as a defender in fantasy that we might be starting with. But if you still got him, maybe you're holding for a week because he's got the Crows. I would imagine he goes to Dawson again, does a bit of a run with, so something to watch with him.
Definitely.
Butters with a 76. Got the Finn McGuinness tag after quarter time, which I was afraid he would get because Hawthorn had copped a bit of flack in the media from not tagging Strong the week before. And Butters had a really good first quarter, and they end up deciding to tag him. So 76, low score. I believe that obviously they got the Crows this week. Butters is always up for a showdown, but then I think they got Geelong the week after, so that could be a Mullen tag. So just something to watch for Butters owners. Maybe you could luxury trade him in a couple of weeks' time when they do go up against Geelong, because Mullen did the tag earlier, and I think he scored like a 48. So something to watch there for sure. And a couple other scores. John Newcomb as well, far out, 37. If you've still got him as a unique, which I know, unfortunately, friend of the show, Tom Hales has still got him there. He is obviously not getting it done, unfortunately. But Will Day back potentially next week might help. And Manny Liddy got subbed out on 16, so his cash gen is officially done, along with Rouston. So all of our cash gen on the bench now is pretty much done this week. So maybe a few coaches might look to bring another rookie or two that can make some cash for them. Moving over to the Saturday twilight game, which was Sydney North Melbourne, and it was a close game for a lot of it, but Sydney ended up winning 84-53. And Isaac Heaney, what a game. One of the best games I've seen for a while. His best career game as well. 166, 5 goals won, 34 disposals, 8 marks and 5 tackles. Incredible effort. I'm not sure. Is he someone you could bring in, Jordy? He dropped the 78, I think, the week before. He's got Giants this week, so it's a tough matchup. Is this just one, if you own him, fantastic. You're very happy with the score, and if you don't own him, you're probably not looking at targeting him with a few other options around his price?
Yeah, I think so. Like, he's coming up against Giants this week. So you think any team that just saw what Heaney's done, surely you're going to put attention into him this week. Like 34-5 is ridiculous numbers. I know Jaiden had him pretty high on his projections. I think he did have him as a top 8 mid. So for the rest of the year. And I think, he was pretty hot on Warner as well with Sydney's run. So, maybe there is potential there, but I think, I think Dunkley is a one that I would prefer over a Heaney. But
yeah, I think
so. And you would have loved to have him, like obviously Tom Hale's case. You'd love to have had him for this 166. I don't think he's going to be putting that ceiling up again to the end of the year. So, we probably can look at it, but I think there's a few other options.
Yeah, agreed. Even though, again, amazing scores, so shout out to Heaney. That is wise. He's on the thumbnail of the pod and the video this week, so he was incredible. Brody Grundy, 129. Obviously, good score. I know there are a lot of people, myself included, were probably thinking like we would have loved North to stay a bit closer in the last quarter, and we probably thought this would happen with Laddams being the sub, but that 129 was obviously looking like an absolute monster. But in saying that, you take 129 every day of the week. Like, look at what we had as captains the week before. So 129, I'm very, very happy with that score on debut, along with a lot of other people that brought him in this week, which I know, Jordy, you were one. Jai Simpkin, 121. Really wish that was Parker's score, because I'd be a lot more upbeat if that was the case. But yeah, he was very, very good there. Don't think he's an option there still.
It's just so hard to tell. Like, he didn't have many CBAs, I don't think, Simpkin. It's just, it's hard. You can't really buy into that.
Yeah, he did not.
Simpkin had zero CBAs.
No CBAs, so just that high half forward. A few other tons here as well for some players here. So Chad Warner, obviously a lot of people brought him in this week for a 107. You'd be very happy with that. 1 goal, 3, just showing he's still got a little bit more that he can give as well. But first ton in a while for Chad Warner, which is good. I think that's the first ton he's actually got since I've had him, and I got him in like round 12. So it's been a while, but no, very good score from him. Callum Mills, 105, was really good as well. So you take that. Probably was on a lot of people's chopping block. I still think you can trade him out if you're in a really good spot, but a lot of people probably hold after that good score. And I believe he's got a bad matchup in Giants coming up this week, but then the week after he's actually got the Bombers at the SCG, so that could be a game where Callum Mills gets a good score. So maybe hold him for a couple of weeks there, or even if you can upgrade McCarthy to a better defender and loop him with someone potentially on your bench. Harry Shee's at 102, good score from him as well. Again, didn't have a huge amount of CBAs, just had the 3, but really got up the ground and got into defensive 50 to get some touches, which we know that Sheasel can do. A tough matchup against Sydney as well, but got the ton, which was good. Bryn Teakle, 95, obviously was the number 1 ruck once Callum Coleman-Jones went down. It's a 2-week play, but is there any interest, Jordy, from you as a 2-week play for Bryn Teakle?
There's definitely some interest because I have Mason Wood. So do I just go down to Teakle and maybe bank more points?
Could you go rookie to Teakle and loop between Teakle and Wood? That might be.
That's another thing I'm thinking. I could go a Rouston or a Johnson, and I think I could still get a decent trade. Like I've still got Chera. I reckon I could do one of those and Chera to, someone decent around that 930K. So I'm definitely looking at it as maybe a loop or just straight down. Because, Callum Coleman-Jones did a calf, I think, so you expect him to be out. Yeah. So Teakle's going to be the number 1 ruck, and unless they bring in like a Taylor Goad or someone else, I can't really see him not playing. So it could definitely help as a forward. So I'm interested.
Yeah, he was good. I think some people could look at it, and maybe even if you F7, you need a bit of cash gen, you could. I'm probably not my own self. I'm probably not in a situation. I don't think a lot of people would be in a situation to get him. But if you've got an F6 that's failed and you don't really like a Tim Kelly, for example, had the midfield Robert was pretty bad. Yeah, Mason Wood, as you mentioned, maybe you got one of those guys, and you want to go down to Teakle, make a bit of money, 2-week play, trade him out in a couple of weeks. That could be a potential play. So he's an option that coaches could consider. I'm just not sure I'm probably going to go there. Personally. We've got a couple of super chats here as well we'll quickly get to. So Tim Ashworth, thank you, mate, has said, dropped in rank to 59th, had Dawson captain, Daniel to Myers, Marshall to Grundy, or Merritt or Green or Goulden. So some good trades there, Tim. I think, Daniel Myers is a good trade, and Marshall I'd go to Grundy. If you don't have Grundy and you go Marshall out, I'd go Grundy, even though actually no, those other 3 mids are probably guys that probably not. Merritt, I think a lot of people have got Merritt are going to trade him out after this game against the Dogs coming up. He's got the Sydney tag, and he's got a lot of pretty much a tag every week for the remainder of the year. And then Tom Green just doing his thing, but you're probably not trading him in. And Errol Goulden, who is another one here, 86, back-to-back sub-90 scores, back-to-back 80s. Not what people wanted paying up for him at the moment. You'd be waiting at least for this Giants game to pass by and maybe look at him after. But yeah, just a couple of lower scores, which is disappointing from him there. And Tim asking also if I'm a member of the Crows, member of the Crows. And yes, I am. And I went there today and very, very happy with the result. We also do have a super chat as well from Chris. Thank you, mate. He's asking about McCarthy McCarthy or Jack Martin to Chad Warner, or similar, or Colby to anyone I like. So he's looking at going, I guess, McCarthy or Martin to Warner, or going Colby up to anyone. So if you had to choose one of them there, we'll chat. Well, I guess we'll mix this in with McKercher chat, right? So McKercher 74, cop with James Jonte after quarter time. I'm personally not worried about McKercher at all. He's rolls great. He's still scoring well. He still scores 74 with a tag for 3 quarters. So I'm still fairly comfortable with him. So would you be going McCarthy or Martin to Warner, or would you go Colby to someone else?
This is interesting because McCarthy's defender there and Martin's a forward. So obviously he needs Warner as the forward option, but McCarthy is, I wonder if that's his loop or something.
Or maybe McCarthy's on his, maybe he's going to use, like, if he goes McCarthy to Warner, he'll use like Martin as an F7 potentially. Maybe on his bench.
Because that's, I think, if you're getting a forward, Warner is definitely a good upgrade there. But also Colby to anyone. Like if you can go Colby to, I don't know, someone a guy that's gone 110. That could also bank a lot of points. I'm just going to check who North have got this week. They got the Cats.
I don't think they're going to tag McKercher.
No.
I think if they're going to tag anyone, it's going to be probably O'Connor to an LDU, but I don't see this as a game Geelong are going to tag necessarily.
It's probably Warner, isn't it? Just get the better player in.
I like McCarthy to Warner. If you can keep Jack Martin and use him as a loop, if McCarthy's on field as well, I think this makes a lot of sense. If then you can loop Jack Martin as your F7. I think that's probably a pretty good way to go about it. I'd be keeping Colby. I'm not concerned whatsoever with him. Obviously, he might be some we trade eventually, but take out this game, he's still going really well. Like, he's not that far off of some of these top defenders that he was a top 6 defender in terms of average over the last month before this week. So I'm pretty comfortable with him still there. A shout out to Finn O'Sullivan as well. 82 points, just popping up for another good score. And looked pretty good as well. Took 9 marks, got a few +6s. So, not too bad. But Caleb Daniel, not so much. 76, had an awful first half. I think he was on like 18 points. So he saved his score, but he's probably just like all these other forwards, right? All the forwards that aren't, I was going to say not named Bailey Smith, but he put himself in that in this week along with Jack McRae. So no forwards are getting it done. It's funny. We've lost all the forwards. None of them getting it done. We'll chat about Bailey Smith and McRae later on. But yeah, I think Daniel can trade eventually. But yeah.
Tough matchup. Probably just, he should be better. But like you said, it's a pass mark, really. Yeah, for this week.
With all these forwards just not getting it done. And Luke Parker, again, 48. Seriously. Like, still had CBA, still had the role. And it still annoys me when I'm seeing like Will Phillips in the midfield over Luke Parker. Like, I think Wardlaw will come in for Phillips this week. And I think Wardlaw didn't have many CBAs actually the couple of games before he actually got injured because they're trying to ease him through. So I still think Parr's got a good role. I think he bounced back. But if he doesn't this week, he'll be gone for me the week after. That is for sure. And that's pretty much it from that game as well. So we will move over to the next, the Saturday night games, which again, these 2 Saturday night games. I know that Carlton and Melbourne end up being a pretty good game, but far out. Still not great watching. But Carlton and Melbourne, it was actually a pretty hard game to watch, even though it was close. But Cozzy Pickett got it done again with a 106. 5 goals. He's just a very, very good footballer. If you got him, great. But if you look at him as a target, I would not be going there. They play St Kilda this week. Windhager tagged him last time, and it worked really well. So they're going to do it again. So I wouldn't be going there. But if you've got him, good score as a very good score as a forward. Cripps, Salem, also Gawn with a 102, and then Rivers all tunning up there. I think Gawn is actually a good target and someone that I'm looking at this week if I decide to do a ruck move, which we'll talk about him in conjunction with another ruck that we'll come to shortly. Clayton Lolland, for anyone, still got him there with an 89. Doc with a 77. 31 the first quarter. Didn't do anything for 2 quarters. Then he got a hole in the ball, free kick to goal, and that's really what got him that 77. So very happy with that score, but he's got to go, unfortunately. He's someone that's of priority for me to trade out. It's not probably of his fault of his own. It's just that he's playing on a wing. I don't understand it. I really don't. There are players in that Carlton defence that should not be playing in the team at all, and they're pushing him on a wing, which is disappointing. But, yeah, Doc has probably got to go with the Hawthorn matchup. It's a tricky one as well there. Adam Chera, another one that's probably can go. 73. His scoring has fallen off the last month. He's been a great pick. But, yeah, he would be someone as well. If you can get him to a Dunkley, geez, that's a pretty good trade, I think, there. Chris Petrarca, another forward. Put him in with all the bunch of those forwards that are just not getting it done. Another 70 points. He
had a 3-point last quarter.
Yeah, really disappointing. Really disappointing.
He was going okay until that last quarter. Anyway.
Yeah, go a couple of free kicks away in that last quarter as well, but still, yeah, these forwards just not getting it done. Ashton Moore, 67. Pretty happy with him on my bench. I'll be able to use him as a Thursday night loophole. And if he can pop an 80 or something like that, I'd be able to tell you. But 4 goals, he looked really good as well. I don't know if he's still eligible for a Rising Star nomination. He probably would be. There's a chance he gets it. He was very, very good in this game up forward. So 67, very happy with that score. George Hewitt, far out, 53. Really disappointing if you've still got him. He is another one that's got to go. And Tom de Koning, 44. I think we're all probably hoping he plays forward now for the rest of the year, drops that average down, and then moves to St Kilda, starting option in our ruck next year because we know what he's capable of if he's the solo number one ruck.
Imagine he gets forward status.
Jeez, that would be very, very handy. Could be the Jackson
ruck forward, yeah.
No. Moving over to the other game, and it was Richmond getting the big win, 49-point winners over West Coast. And Taranto and Hopper, 124 and 127 respectively, both going well. Any interest in Taranto? Got a great run for the rest of the year. It's obviously it's been the best run for midfielders for the last 6 weeks, and obviously they've had a couple of good games back to back, and they've got more good games on the horizon. 3 goals in this as well, which was good. But any interest from you for Taranto as a bit of a pod, or do you think there's just a few other guys you might put ahead of him?
I am interested. I think in my position, I'm looking for pods at the moment, and he's a good price, like 960. Yeah, he's got a great run. I think probably check out Rowan. Shout out to Rowan. He did quite a few tweets actually on Taranto and his run and his market share with the Tigers. So obviously he's getting a lot of the market share of the points. So he could definitely be an option. Yeah, it's a shame. Probably it would have been great to buy him 2 weeks ago, but yeah, I'll have some interest in Taranto, and we know what he can do. Yeah, what he has done before. So, yeah, I've got some interest.
Yeah, I think I probably prefer Dunklin and
yeah,
one other midfielder,
definitely.
which we're going to chat about, which I do really like as well. But yeah, Taranto is definitely an option. It will be a pod as well, because I don't think a lot of people are going to be jumping on him. Harley Reid, back-to-back tons and a 117. Again, another, as you probably know, this pod, I've said a lot of players to keep an eye on next year because I've started turning my attention to next year. Harley Reid will be cheap. And another 117, back-to-back big scores. That was his highest score of his career. He is someone that I don't know if I'd be jumping on now, a bit like Ridley, probably just that awkward price. And I think he's actually near 800K, actually. He's jumped up a lot, but he's been great last couple of weeks. Another good score for him. Duggan, good score as well. Along with Nank, who a few people went to, 110. You definitely take that. Along with Jack Ross with a 101. He was the guy. He was the one we missed. Him and Dylan Moore were the two, and they probably got the least amount of chat of all the forwards, and they were the two that delivered. So if you went Jack Ross, you would be very, very happy with that decision. He was the second most CBAs behind Hopper. So they had more than Taranto, and their pressure was down at 13, and then the rest had, there weren't many others. I think Rioli had a couple, had one CBA, but that was it. So great role. Jack Ross could be someone to fall in if you're still looking for a cheap option. He could be someone that you could consider there. McCarthy got a 70. Got there late as well. I had a pretty quiet first half. Set from what people were telling me I was doing the watch on for the other game. People were saying that West Coast were ignoring him a lot in that first half and got going. Copped a knee to a head clash going for a mark in last quarter. Went off for the blood rule, came back on, but probably cost him 10 points, I reckon. But 70 is fine as cover for a lot of us for Rosie this week. We take that this week in a tough week. We had a lot of injuries. Tim Kelly, 59. That's, really disappointing. I thought he was going to score a lot better than that. I know a few coaches did. I think Louis even made the jump to Tim Kelly this week, and certainly not the score you wanted from him. So maybe those coaches could go to a Bryn Teakle potentially if they're wanting to make a little bit of cash from him. And a few, obviously, rookies scored a bit lower in this game. But we will move over to the Sunday games. But as always, we shout out our partners for the season, which is our good friends at Game Day Squad, who have obviously jumped on board with us throughout the 2025 season. And AFLW is obviously just around the corner. So obviously sign up and get your AFLW Fantasy Team squad, but also hop over to Game Day Squad. Obviously, they got the AFLW Fantasy Competition along with the Premier League is making a move over to Game Day Squads. That'll be good fun. So a couple of sports on the horizon, along with cricket in the summer. You also have the NBL as well. So plenty of sports on Game Day Squad. Plus, you win weekly prizes for the rest of the men's season, along with even next year. So get your club started now and use the code BAILSDT at sign up, and you get yourself some free goodies, some free packs there. And it is free to play as well, which is obviously amazing. So it's good fun. I'll be doing it all year. So jump on board, head to gamedaysquad.com.au and use the code BAILSDT at sign up to get some free packs. But we will move over to the Geelong and St Kilda game, which was a very high-scoring fantasy game. Geelong winning by 31 points here, but we mentioned him before, Nasai Wang and Miller 151 points. Just incredible. And it wasn't like a small midfield role. It was a full-time midfield role. Only had one less CBA than Jack Steele and was the second highest on the ground out of everyone. He was great. Had a couple of kick-ins as well, but his game was incredible. I remember saying earlier in the year that I didn't think he was a good midfielder, and that was in the parts I'd seen. Now it's like he's just incredible. Like, I'm allowed to, and again, I'll say I was wrong when I was saying I didn't think he was going to be a good midfielder. I'll tell you what, though, then again, did many of us think he was going to be this good? So he's just incredible. But just getting it done once again. Sean Manor, who was the one to get 144 points, 3 goals, 24 disposals was incredible. 11 tackles as well. Just getting it done. Very good score from him. Max Holmes, 121. Again, another very, very good score from Holmesy. I thought he was going to get the windy tag, but they decided not to tag, which was interesting. But Jack Steele, Jordy, 119 points, 14 tackles. Again, he got it done with the tackles. He's more expensive than Dunkley, but what are your thoughts on Jack Steele as an option? We've talked about that this was their last semi-neutral, difficult matchup for the rest of the year. They now go into an unbelievable run for the rest of the year. So for people that haven't looked at their run yet, they go Melbourne this week, which is obviously a great matchup. Then they go North Melbourne, Richmond, Essendon, and then GWS, who are actually giving up some points to mids as well. What are your thoughts on Jack Steele as an option with this good run to finish the year?
Yeah, I like Steele. I was looking at him a few weeks ago. I was worried about the tackles, whether that could be sustained, but it looks like it can. As you said, it's just every week now. And, 20 on disposals. But if he has a game where he pushes that to 25, 30 disposals and has the 14 tackles, that's a 140, 150. So there could be a ceiling there, which is, something that we've seen that with Dunkley. He put that 137 tackles plus possessions. So and Steele's got a great run. So I'm definitely looking at one of those two. That to me, those would be the top two, I would say, trade-ins this week.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm agreeing with that as well. And he's another one I'm definitely looking at. He's looking really good, back in form. 6 marks, which is obviously the good thing. And if he can get some more touches and get 25, 30 touches, then all of a sudden we're looking at some massive scores and is sort of looking a lot more like that Jack Steele we saw average 120 for the whole season, right? I don't think he's the same player, but if he can go at 110 for remainder of the year, that is a good pick. So I'm definitely looking at him, along with Jack Sinclair, who I don't own, but 108 was really good. 33 touch, but just had the 2 marks, which is why his score was low. But if Desai Wanganeen-Miller is going to be playing as a midfielder, all the ball's going to be left there for Jack Sinclair to rack up. He had 7 kick-ins as well, with Nasai having just the 2, obviously playing in the midfield, and Stocker had just the 1. So Sinclair's going to be the guy taking all the kick-ins. I like him as a pick with this great run coming up, and he's someone
he's cheap.
Looking at. Yeah, he's cheap as well. Agreed. So he's someone definitely looking at. Rowan Marshall, 104, solid score. Still had 23 CBAs to Heath 10. But Heath obviously being in there is capping Marshall's ceiling, right? And we're getting these ceiling scores from these rucks. And we know that Gawn is coming up to this run. He starts with St Kilda this week, obviously, who Marshall's got, which is a tough matchup. But then he obviously goes into West Coast and a pretty good run for SE. And obviously, we've talked about English. And Marshall, as I said, Melbourne this week, which isn't great. But then he goes North Melbourne, which obviously could be a big score. But maybe is that a game where they play Heath a bit more in the ruck? So what are your thoughts on, for those people maybe looking at trading a Marshall and going to a Gawn, make a tiny bit of money, they could do another sideways trade along with that? Is that something that you'd be ticking off, or do you think you'd be holding Marshall at least for that North Melbourne matchup and then maybe move on after that?
Yeah, I think, for me, I've got a lot of other issues in my team, like a Doherty and a Chera and all these other ones that I would be okay with Marshall holding. But Tim in the chat before, in his case, I'd probably look at doing something like that because he's up the top end. And if you're okay with the rest of your team, then I think why not look at it? It's obviously very luxury. But yeah, I think it depends on your team. Like for me, it would probably be my 3rd or 4th option behind what I need to fix, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's something I'm potentially considering doing this week, as someone wants to keep making some ground, and obviously a few league matchups I need to win. So that's something I'm looking at doing. But obviously, as you say, it is a bit luxury to be doing that. And some other scores from this game here as well. Brian Myers 89, which is okay for a forward. Only had the 1 mark, which is really what kept his score down. But 26 touches is what we do like to see. But he also had a few CBAs today as well. Had 14 CBAs and low game time. So that's something that's pricked my ears up. And obviously, they've got a great run home. So Brian Myers is someone that I still think is a good option in the forward line. Probably one of the few safer options I think that we do have there. Jack Martin was a solid option if you went there with a 75. Played a lot more forward today, kicked a couple of goals. But if you went there, made some cash, he's got one more good matchup, then goes into, I think, a one tougher game against Sydney, I believe, that they've got. But still, you're pretty happy with his score. Along with Max Hull, who put up another solid score as well, another 72. was solid. But Bailey Smith, geez, 70 points, gave away 3 free kicks in the last quarter alone, and just didn't really look like it today. I know St Kilda are tough to score against, but I don't know. Like, I'm not, John, we're not concerned, right? Because he's still, like, he had the most CBAs, equal most CBAs with Atkins for any midfielder. Had low game time, only 76%. Well, I guess we're just putting this down to a bad game, right? But that's now 3 scores in a row, sub 100. So
Yeah.
is there any concern with you moving forward, or do you just think this is just part of the Baz experience, right? It's just we'll get some lower scores and we'll get some big scores.
Geez, imagine trading him over that bye, or just before that bye, or when you would have got a leg. The problem is just that we don't have many forward options to go with Baz. Like
his break evens. I was going to say his break evens 171. Is there a world you could trade him out and go down to, like, I don't know, Grind Myers and use that money elsewhere? But I don't think you can. Not with North Melbourne this week. I don't think you can. I just think you have to.
It's risky, isn't it?
I think it's way too risky. I think you've got to hold. If you've got him, if you don't have him, you're not going there yet. You're waiting for him to drop in price. Like, he's going to get cheaper. You're not trading him out. I can't really see where you can. I'm sure you've got money elsewhere. If you've got no money, then you could, but I don't know. It's just a dangerous game when a lot of people have got him. If he puts up a 140 this week against North Melbourne or 130, you're probably losing a lot there. So I probably wouldn't do it, but some coaches might look there. But I tell you what, forwards in this game didn't get it done. Jack McRae, 61. I messaged you on last night, said weekend ruined after Luke Parker got that. And I was in a real bad mood last night after the game, even though Grundy went well and whatever. But watching today, it made me feel slightly better not having McRae. And I could have gone McRae instead of Parker, but that was a bad game. But he had really low game time as well. So he ended up only having 63%. So I don't know if that was a management thing getting him through, but that was just quite interesting that he ended up having quite low game time. And Hugh Boxall had more game time, which was funny in itself, only 68%. But as for owners of McRae, they wouldn't be very happy with that. But yeah, just very interesting. Something just to probably watch. But I think he'll be back. I think it was management. I
think it's really interesting with McRae because Wangani Malera is the biggest one that's gone in there, being the number one guy. So someone's got to move out. The thing is that they had Hunter Clark as a sub, and I noticed McRae had no CBAs last quarter. So they brought Clark on. They probably pushed McRae forward. Max Hall as well, I think, has CBAs in last quarter. So whether they were trying stuff, but Wangani Malera is the biggest thing because, he's gone into the middle. Sinclair's now getting more distribution at the back line, which is good. But someone in the middle's got to take account, and it's obviously looking like it's going to be McRae. So we've seen what McRae does as a forward at the Dogs. It's not great. We need him in the midfield. So he was one I was going to get this week, and now I'm just like,
on there now, you're waiting.
I can't. Yeah, and now I'm just like, I'm really unsure about what's, I would think that they would keep Wangani Malera in the midfield now. Is it also they're trying to get his value up? There's trade talk. Is that what they're trying to develop him in? With where the Saints are at, they probably are going to experiment more, you would think.
I think today's probably a good indicator of what they're going to do. I think that Jack Steele, captain of the club, he can't play anywhere else, but he's actually playing good footy as well. He's got the most. I think Nasai being in there is another one. So that's the main two. So there's only one other spot. So obviously, like, if you look at the CBAs, McRae had 15, Boxall had 10, Windhager had 10. Obviously, Heath had 10 for Marshall as well. But Max Hall 6, Hunter Clark 5. I think if you've got him, you're not trading him out because the forward line is gross, but not Tom, just gross in general.
But you're not trading him in, are you?
But you're not trading him in. I was looking at him this week as well, or in the next couple of weeks, but I'm watching and waiting, potentially maybe not making the move there. So I agree. I think it is a bit of a watch moving forward and not great looking at that game. Mason Wood as well with a 58 as well. I wonder if you're going to trade him out straight away or if you're going to maybe give him another week. So we'll see what you're going to be.
Might go to Tickle.
Yeah, there you go. We'll see what you're going to do with your trades a little bit later on. And yeah, unfortunately, I feel for everyone that did this move. Tom Stewart, injured on 50. I feel sorry for you, but also at the same time, I know what you're feeling as well. And I know that you trade him in, you were going in there knowing this could happen, and there was a chance it was going to. And unfortunately, I don't even know do you even know what the injury was, Jordy? I was on the way to the Crows game, and I saw him get subbed out. Same. So, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what he did, but Tom Stewart, unfortunately, that's what happens with him this year and what he's doing. So do feel sorry for all those that did jump over to him there. Boxall got a 57, so good for some cash gen there as well. And Angus Hasty only 27, didn't have much at all. I'm partly hope he gets dropped. I want him as a red dot. I'd be really handy as a red dot, but I don't know if they're going to drop him or keep the face with him. So it'd be interesting to see what they're going to be doing with him moving forward. Move over to the last two games of the round. Actually, we've got a super chat here from Stu as well that put it in before, which I know that he's doing very, very well this year. Asking, fellas, should I go Dale and Myers or Whitfield and McRae? Cheers. I think we obviously chatted about that before and about McRae, and we talked about Whitfield with the tag. I think Whitfield's the player I want out of those four, but is it Dale and Myers because they've got, I guess Dale's got the good matchup this week if he doesn't get any attention from Guelphy, and Myers is looking really good, and you can get Whitfield the week after and watch McRae. Is it Dale and Myers as the option?
Geez, tough because Witt and McRae are the names, and I definitely would love to get Witt on the run. But yeah, I think I'm with you. The only other thing is if he doesn't have Sinclair, about the same price. Now that he with Wangani Malera, could he look there as well? Because he'd be about the same price as Dale and Whitfield.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good shout. Yeah, I'd be a little bit more expensive than Whitfield, I think. So it'd have to be the Whitfield McRae option. But I don't think I could say that you could trade McRae in just after what we saw today. So I'd be waiting. I think it is Dale and Myers moving forward. And Stu is currently ranked 36. So keep going well there, Stu. Moving over to the Collingwood and Freo game. Freo, 1 point winners over Collingwood. Collingwood back-to-back losses. I'm not worried about them, but it is just interesting they've lost a couple of games in a row. And Freo, big win for them. So another big game for Tide. But Nick Dacos, 162, 43 touches, just incredible. Very, very good there as well. I'm assuming you ought to watch a bit of this game, Jordy, because you were saying, but I'm looking here. Nick Dacos only had the 13 CBAs. It was Ned Long and Pendles had more. Josh Dacos had a handful, but obviously Houston not being their pro meant that they couldn't use that more. I heard on the radio it sounded like it was a bit of Josh Dacos and Nick Dacos were swapping halfback and midfield. Was that what you were seeing? And obviously Josh Dacos didn't have a great game. He only scored the 85, but was that what they were doing? And your thoughts on both the Dacos brothers?
Yeah, this heat map of Dacos is ridiculous. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, a lot of defensive half and then midfield. No forward half, which is interesting. No. A couple of touches there, but...
So, yeah, I was the same as you. I heard I was on the way to the Crows game, but yeah, Dacos was halfback and Josh Dacos was inside. And I wonder if that was to break the tag, if there was a tag. And also, during the week, we heard about him being sore. Was that a bit of management there? Let's put him at halfback. Going to throw the coaches off the tag. It's probably a bit easier on his body. We saw what Josh Dacos did against the Suns, 82 points in a quarter. And yeah, I mean, it looked like it was working, but obviously Freo got up. But definitely a bit more halfback time for Dacos. He had a few kick-ins as well.
Yep, which is he's going to get those if he's in defence at all. He's going to get kick-ins. You know that for a fact. He's one of those players that will just run to get the kick-in. Like, you know that for a fact. So it is interesting. I'm really intrigued to see, particularly when Houston's back, how that, because it looks like Josh Dacos had 6 CBs. I know it wasn't an amazing score, but Freo aren't really a great team to score against for mids. They're quite a tough matchup. But so 85's fine, but they got Richmond this week. So that could be anything. I think Jack Ross will go to Nick Dacos, but I tell you what, far out these. Nick's someone, if you don't have him, he's now very expensive. So, yeah, if you can still get him, I think you do because they've got a great run home. But far out, he was very, very good today. Along with Caleb Sarong, who had 123. And we know when Sarong doesn't get attention, he can score well. But we know for a fact that anytime he does get attention, he can put up some poor scores. He's got West Coast this week, which is obviously going to be a good match. I think Hoff will try and go with him. But then he goes, Carlton, might get attention there, but maybe not. But then he goes Port Adelaide. I'd imagine a Bergman goes to him there, and he's got Brisbane. So I don't know if I'd trade into Sarong now, but if you've got him, I think you probably hold for a couple of weeks. Would you agree with that, Jordy?
Yeah, yep. I was just a much shout out Mini Monk. I think he actually brought in Sarong this week. And I said to him, a tough run, but he goes, yeah, but he likes it's good when he's got this contested tough run. So he's a Freo fan, so interesting thoughts there. So he's pretty hot on him.
Yeah. Ned Long, 95. So those coaches, I know Roy had to hold on him, but any coaches that had to hold to Ned Long be pretty happy with the 95. The 12 tackles was good, and obviously Tom Mitchell being out, I think, was a help with that as well. But you take it, right? You're very, very happy with that. I still think it's a trade if you've got him, but good score from him. Along with Darcy Cameron, if you went there, 106, pretty solid score from him there. Jordan Clark with the 93 was solid, along with Andrew Brayshaw, who was pretty good. I don't know if you saw this, Joy. He's wearing the helmet, Angus Brayshaw's helmet he was wearing today. So that was pretty cool to see.
Pretty awesome.
And the lid, because he had the 10 stitches in his head after your man, the unicorn, Jackson, kneeing him in the head with like 30 seconds ago last week. So, but yeah, 90 points, not great, but he gave away a fair few free kicks. I think he got caught 3 times for holding the ball from what I saw in a group chat. So disappointing from that standpoint, but 90, it's okay. He's got West Coast. I imagine he'll go quite well this week. What was I going to say? Yeah. So Jackson had the 16 CBAs and scored the 83. Forward line we know is not great. You're not trading him in, I don't think, but you're keeping him. Obviously, there 83 was fine. Also kicked the goal that put them in front as well. Anyone else here that we're going to chat about? Shea Bolton with a 55. If you still got him, that's just a disgusting score. But much like all the other forwards have been dishing up lately. And yeah, Jaiden Young came back in, scored 39 points. Did he score that all in the last quarter? Yeah, 28 points in the last quarter. He had 11. So you're not bringing him in, but just interesting to see how that Freo midfield dynamic does shape up moving forward. Moving over to the final game, and I was at this one, obviously very enjoyable there. Adelaide Crows winning by 61 points over Gold Coast there. And Alex Neil-Bullen, who I've got in a few draft leagues, actually, 135. He was very, very good. But Matt Rao, again, Jordy, gets it done. 118 points, 9 tackles again, 30 disposals.
He's looking great, isn't he?
He's expensive. I think he's just slightly more expensive than a Jack Steele, and Dunkley's cheaper. Also, Goulden's there for a few people if they want to go there. Are we looking at Matt Rao? And I think we're all saying Matt Rao's playing amazing. He's probably a top 8 mid for the rest of the year, right? But do we prefer other options, or do you think Matt Rao is a genuine option that you're considering this week?
Yeah, he's just one of those guys that you just don't really like. Last 3, he's averaging 120, and last 5, 115. So we need to take notice of him. He's, like watching him live today, he looked like unreal. It's just one of those guys you just don't like. Your mind goes straight to Steele or Dunkley. But I'm all for pods, and I think, his ownership's a pretty good one. 5.2% owned. Like no one's going to have him. So if you're looking to take a jump, it could be one that you want to take a punt on.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's someone, if you wanted to go there, I couldn't talk you out of it for sure. Sam Flanders, 107. Good score from him, but the role didn't change. Only had the 3 CBAs, so that even though Touk was out, it was Anderson, it was Rao, and it was actually Bailey Humphrey who got the 19 CBAs there. Fiorini had a couple. Lombard had 3 along with Flanders. So he was just getting up high up the ground and getting those +6s. Like he was getting those marks today that he hadn't been getting in other games. And he had a 44-point second quarter or third quarter, I think it was. Third quarter. Massive quarter there. If you got him, great. You take the score. You could hold if you've got other issues, but I wouldn't be trading into him. I wouldn't be looking at this as like he's changed his role completely. He's still the same role, but again, someone for next year, if he moves clubs or anything like that, midfield role potentially could be an option that was cheap. Rory Laird, 104. Always love seeing my boy Lairdy ton up. It's good to see. So good score from him. Braden Fiorini is someone that we haven't chatted about, I don't reckon, at all on the pod, Jordy. And I don't think we're trading into him now, but he has gone about his business very, very well over the last probably 6 weeks. Like he just puts up good scores. We know that the pastor can put up good scores, but the game before the bye scored an 88. And since the bye has gone 87, 98, 100, 97, 101, playing on a wing. But shout out to the pastor getting it done. If you did jump on there, kudos to you because he's got it done and he's put up some good, very, very good scores. Dan Curtin was another very good option if you went there. I was pretty big on the Dan Curtin pick. If you couldn't get anyone over 800, he was my favorite option of the guys, and he had another really good performance from footy and also fantasy as well. So very good score from him. Jordan Dawson, 88 points, and unfortunately, the dreaded calf strapping came out. He copped a knock in the second quarter, I believe it was. Went off for a little bit, came back on, so he was fine. But he looked like he still was limping around a little bit. And I've seen this story before. When Jordan Dawson gets a knock on the calf, he's not the same Jordan Dawson. And he rested the last 10 minutes or close to 15 actually on the bench because obviously the Crows being up by so much. So I'm not concerned with his role. He still had a lot of CBAs when he was on the ground. just something to keep an eye on. Like, I don't think he's going to miss games or anything, but I experienced this last
year. The showdown this week. Yeah,
showdown this week. Burn will go to him. You're not trading him in. And if you want to be really, really aggressive with a tag this week, you could look to trade, but I think it's ultra, ultra luxury. Your team would have to be best 22 and you're just trying to target matchups, but just something to bit of a flag just moving forward with him. He might not put up massive scores for maybe a couple of weeks. He's got Hawthorn the week after, but then finishes with West Coast, Collingwood, North Melbourne. So it could be a few decent matchups there to finish the year. Your boy, Nando, 78. Just a lot of handballs, not many tackles. I think that's unfortunately been that as someone that's been looking at him as an option. It's just the one thing. He's just have him in the same boat as a Tom Green, Caleb Sarong, guys like that can rack up the ball, but they don't really rack up the marks or tackles. So you're an owner. I'm sure you're not trading him, right? I think he's probably least of your concerns. But would you be saying that if you don't have him, you just wouldn't be looking at him for the time being?
I think with Nat Anderson, Suns got pumped. I think he scores well when they're winning. I think he's that sort of player. He was probably tracking a bit better than what he got. He was actually all right by halftime. But I still think he's a top 8 mid. But I think Dunkley and Steele have presented themselves as better options this week. But I'll still have faith. I mean, they got Brisbane this week, and he didn't really do that great last time. So it'd be interesting.
Yeah. Then he's got Richmond, I believe, the week after. So it might be a bit of a reward. I like that. That's nice. I like that reaction. What else we got here? Isaac Rankin, 66. Yeah, obviously not great. Only had a 3-point last quarter. Disappointing.
Did they rest him at all?
No, he still played. They rested Thilthorpe and Dawson were the two that they rested today. So it wasn't Rankin, but obviously he's playing that forward role, right? Like in terms of CBAs, he only had the 2. So really it was a full-time forward role. Like Chase Jones had 8 CBAs. I think that was more because of Dawson being rested in the last quarter. But like Berry, Saligo, Dawson, Peatling had a bump today as well. He played really well, I thought.
He was on Nando.
Anderson. So he'll probably go to Butters this week. Probably not like a hard tag or anything like that. But Rankin, much like a lot of those other forwards, I probably think it's probably not really worth trading him unless you don't have a Kennedy or a Myers and you want to get one of those guys in. You've got your other stuff sorted in your team. I think that's about it. I think the one sad thing, obviously, the couple injury from this game, but I think that I didn't actually see the incident, but I did hear that apparently Dan Rioli obviously got subbed out at halftime on 33. Apparently a broken leg is what I heard. I don't know if that's been.
Oh, geez, that's not nice.
Not great, and a big loss to Gold Coast. I wonder if that means that maybe a John Noble takes a bit of an uptick there, or if this is a bad thing. Maybe it's like he doesn't get as much of the ball because he's not got Rioli past him. So just something to watch with John Noble moving.
Imagine if they put Flanders back.
Yeah, no, it's good point. But I think they've got Jeffrey. They've got Buderick who went back as well.
We'd have to see it first.
And I don't love, obviously, we don't love talking about, obviously, injuries and then fantasy implications. But unfortunately, that's what we do on fantasy. We sort of chat about what we see week to week and what we might see moving forward. So that is all the games. We do have a super chat here from Tim as well. So he was asking, should he go English or Marshall to Grundy or Daniel to Myers or get Goulden? So for me, I'll definitely say you're not trading English. It's either Marshall to Grundy or Daniel to Myers or Goulden. Are you Marshall to Grundy or are you Daniel to a Myers or Goulden?
I think get Grundy, hey. The run is ridiculous. Like, I reckon at least 130 on the run home, and he's a captain option.
Yeah, and
Goulden, I'm unsure on Goulden. Like, he's got Giants, but then he has Essendon. But I'm still worried about his leg. Like, it's a long-term injury. Like, maybe, I don't know. I have a thing about that coming back from a long-term injury. Is he going to, he's 4 or 5 games in now? Like, I don't know.
Goulden's someone you don't take this week with the Giants matchup. And I think the fact that Marshall's got the tough matchup, Grundy's got the good matchup, I'd be going for Grundy this week and get Grundy in. But if you want to go Daniel to Myers, that's still a very good trade as well because Myers is a good option. Myers has got North Melbourne. So, probably depends what you're looking at, Tim, but you're up there. So maybe you do the Marshall to Grundy, get aggressive and look at doing that. So And I will just answer this question because Josh said that he would have sent a super chat in, but his card at the moment is locked, so he can't put in a super chat. But mate, we appreciate the thought and sentiment, so I will answer this question for you. He says, should I do Lohman to Myers or hold 300k and do Chera to Steele, average 109 outside of 260s, looping Moyer? Well, I think that there, Josh, answers your question. See what Moyer does Thursday night. If he goes well, then you could do the Chera to Steele trade. But are you in agreement there that if Moyer doesn't do well, I think Lohman on field is more important to go up to Myers instead of doing Chera to Steele?
Yes, I agree. I think the only thing there is Chera would be the same game as Moyer, so he would have to lock that out. But I agree. I think, Myers got 89 today, but
with
Lohman, CBAs, yeah. Lohman can just, you don't know what he's going to do. I think you're better off, you need to sort that forward out. So I think it's, if Moyer does go well, but I don't know whether he can do that now with Chera because he'd have to decide that.
Yeah, it's obviously Chera's not going well, right? But I still think Chera and Myers I'd rather have than Steele and Lohman, I think. I know you're looping more in Lohman, and people say maybe the forward line not going great. Maybe you don't worry about it, but yeah. Or maybe you could bring in a Teakle as a rookie. Maybe you go Lohman to Teakle, and then maybe you go Chera to Steele as your trades, maybe instead of doing your rookie trade. So that could be what you do there, Josh. You might be able to look at a Teakle for Lohman and then go Chera up. That could be a trade you do, but I guess hopefully you work out the trades there. Cool. That will wrap us up there. Apologies we couldn't get to a heap of questions. Obviously, we normally do the couple of super chats that get sent through on the Sunday, but we do answer all your questions on Tuesday night, as we always do for our Q&A live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Perth time, as always on a Tuesday night. But if you do want a guaranteed answer to your questions in the meantime, or you'd like a team review, or you'd like to get on the Patreon Q&As, head to our Patreon, patreon.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. It's about obviously just over a month to go. So if you want to sign up for a month and see what the Patreon's about and see what it's, and maybe interested about it next year, then sign up. Link is in the description of the podcast and the video, or head to patreon.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. So, Jordy, I'm sure you've looked at it because Lockout did obviously lift. Obviously, we were recording a bit late because I was at the Crows game. What are you potentially looking at your trades this week?
Yeah, look, I think I'll just right now. I'll just go Wood to Teakle. It's a rage trade, and it'll either be Chera to Dunkley, or maybe probably Dr. Dunkley. I do like Sinclair though. If I can do like a Ralston or something and get Sinclair, might look at that.
Yeah,
but and I'm hoping Rosie's back.
I think
who knows.
This is a test this week. He was close to playing. Obviously, they ruled him out on Thursday, but I think with Showdown, I think he'll play. I think he'll be there, and I think he'll play halfback. A little bit easier on the hand instead of being in the midfield. So I think he'll play. And if he doesn't, then obviously we trade, right? We can trade him and go, yeah, that's fine. So a lot of us couldn't trade because he was one of many forced trades for a lot of people this week. And yeah, how about obviously we didn't mention it with that Thursday night game, but Ralston and Johnson being the sub with the 16. Along with Liddy, who scored. I think all three of them scored 16. Actually, no, sorry, Liddy got not much more.
Johnson got 22.
Okay, there you go. But yeah, Liddy and Ralston both got 16, Johnson 22, but still, I don't think that Ralston and Johnson should have been sub. I don't know either, but that would have hurt some people that need to play one of those guys because of the 4 forced trades. So, yeah, really, really tough how that ended up working out. My trades I've looked at this week. Looked at a couple of options. I'll look at what I'll do in heading this week, but I've got probably looking at either going Marshall and Doherty out, going to a Gawn, and then I can get Matt Kennedy from Doherty, and then that would allow me to trade a forward to a midfielder the week after, or I bring in a red dot, can loop defend a mid or mid forward or whatever, and go one like a Liddy down, and then go Doherty up to a Dunkley, Jack Steele. One of those guys I'm keen on. So I'm probably looking at one of those two options there. Not quite sure which way I'm going to go just yet, but they are the options I am currently considering moving into the week. But that will wrap us up there. But Jordy, mate, thanks for jumping on tonight, mate, after dinner, mate. Thanks for jumping on in the dark in the car.
No
but, where can the people find you across the socials?
Yeah, just Jordan DeCenter on X.
Yep. And you can find me at BAILSDT on X as well. And you can find us at AFL Fantasy Fans on X as well. If you haven't liked the stream, and if you are watching currently now, watching on the replay, and you can head over to there's like a little thumbs up button there. If you just want to click that, it takes 2 seconds, but it really does help us out if you could do that. And also subscribe to our channel. We're almost at 4,100 subscribers. We're trying to get to 5K, which well, obviously not probably going to get there this year, but if you can help us out and subscribe, please do. Obviously, we've still got content daily on the channel. Plus, we've got AFLW content, which will be starting probably within the next week or so. Getting a few things started for that because that is fast approaching. I think it's less than 4 weeks away. The season starting. So really looking forward. Or actually, might be less than 5 potentially. But it's very, very close. Looking forward to that starting as well. And if you are listening back on the pod and can leave us a 5-star rating and review, that would be very, very much appreciated. As I said, we're back on Tuesday night for our Q&A. As always, 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Perth time, answering all your fantasy questions. But thanks, everyone. Hope you guys had a good score in round 19. And if you didn't, take a deep breath and we move on to another week. Not much longer to go. But thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Catch you guys on Tuesday night. Thanks, everyone. See ya.